and welcome back to another Just 15 Minutes. Um, we've got some news, and you know what the news is. Yeah, bad news. It always seems to be. But anyway, there are some interesting little nuggets in here. And to start with, I do have three stories that jumped out. And yeah, look, it's media, it's hype, but like everything, if you sift through, I think personally, I think there are, and companies are already realizing this, by the way. So it's not as if I've just had this amazing sort of flash of inspiration here. But the AI agents or AI assistants, a bit of both, and why they're a little bit different as well. Um, Microsoft basically, they were on about bots a few years ago. Oh, bots are going to take over everything. It was in WhatsApp and on the web, and you've seen them everywhere on the websites, but they're dumb bots, aren't they? I think I'm going to trademark that. No, maybe not. But they are. A lot of them are. They're obviously working these bots in a very limited sense. Because they were before a lot of the LLMs came out, the Chat GPTs, the Claudes, the Geminis, and all that sort of stuff. And so even though they did a purpose, it was reliant on you asking very specific things or clicking a little button that says I want help with my account or technical support. And that, so there weren't, even I've built a couple of example bots in Microsoft Teams, for example. I think I did one for Zoom as well back in the day. And it's obviously limited by what you can provide, really. And again, this was before the explosion of sort of Chat GPT and everything else like that, as I've said. So assistants, I think, with Microsoft Copilot, 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 should I say Copilot once more? Copilot. It's everywhere and all the rest of it. And I do think a lot of these AI assistants, uh, Copilot or whatever, are obviously here to stay, and also they are getting more and more intelligent. I mean, the one thing with the Microsoft Copilot Plus PC, which again, naming, whoever branded that, goodness me, I'm not sales and marketing, but even I know that's bad. But anyway, the fact that it's got three processors. You've got your CPU, the GPU for graphics, and an NPU for all the neural processing for all the AI stuff. And interesting fact, I only discovered this recently, that your CPU is your multi workhorse type thing, isn't it? Your GPU is its superpower, if you like, is working with floating point values. That's how you get all these amazing vector graphics and blah 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 ray tracing, blah blah blah, as if I know what I'm talking about with games. But then the NPU, ironically, deals with integers, so whole numbers, not decimals and floating point type stuff. And the reason for that is how a lot of the AI models are trained and work. So even though there's been a big push about, like graphics processors, GPUs, working with, and sure, you can, and it does, and that's what a lot of the models have been built on, with those types of processors. But it's interesting. There's a big thing going on with training the models, but on NPU type structures where you've got, like I say, whole numbers, integers, basically, because that's a faster way of doing it for the way that the AI models need to work, the closest in and all that sort of weird and wonderful mathematical stuff that goes on there. Um, Anyway, that's an interesting fact aside. But the back to the AI assistant. So yeah, Copilot, whatever you want to call it, but the Copilot Plus PC, that's what I was getting at, is the fact that you are going to have access to Chat GPT and things like that, of course. But the fact that you've got an NPU on your chip, on your motherboard, and there's going to be more and more computers coming out. I know Apple are doing. I don't know. I get really confused with Apple. They're using AI, OpenAI in the back end or something. Anyway, long story short, back to the Copilot Plus PC again. That type of thing where you can run SLMs, small language models. So they're running on your machine. You don't need internet access, although everybody's got it. But the fact is, for most common things, you can use, your local PC to do all of that. You don't have to call out to the internet. You don't have to have all of that going on, and especially if it's working on your data, like your documents, your email. Although let's face it, email is coming from the internet somewhere, isn't it? But you get the idea. Okay, so those sort of things are coming, and the idea is the where it's going with AI agents, AI assistants. The namings are starting to blur and everything, but AI assistants can do maybe one thing, but you can chain them together, and that's where you start developing things like AI agents. So the BBC News have got, you know, they're they're betting on the fact that AI assistants are coming. Well, they're already here. The Financial Times, which I'm not paying for, sorry, I don't read enough of it. I don't mind the Financial Times, but they've got an article about OpenAI bets on AI agents becoming mainstream, and like I say, a lot of hype here, a lot of hype, everybody. But I think this is the absolute truth, and it's more than bots that you see on your website. Okay, so that's an interesting one, and Salesforce just recently have come out with Agent Force. Oh yeah, they're not missing a trick, are they? So you can build AI agents, and the difference is, and I did a video part one, and I rambled way too long. It was about 30 minutes. Um, where I try basically I tried to do too much in one video, and I'm splitting that out into more sensible, logical sort of chunks that I'll be releasing shortly, um, as well as a possible course. Yeah, I'm going to jump on that bandwagon. Although instead of charging $497 for this course, I'm just going to leave it to you. If you feel like you get anything out of it, you just pay what you want. Pay $1, pay $100, pay $500 if you want to. But that's the way I'm going to structure it, because I've obviously got a massive lack of self-confidence. So anyway, it's better to give it away, and then if you get some money, it's a bonus, isn't it? Anyway, but the point being is that the AI agents are AI assistants in a way, but they're strung together with different things. So they can do, I did try to go through this. There's quite a few frameworks, AutoGen, LangChain, Crew AI, and there's many, many more cropping up. But I'll come back to a couple of those that I feel myself is worthy of investment, where they're not going to be disappearing anytime soon, that type of thing. And where it's open source for most of the part, so you can actually own the code yourself. You're not sat in a data center, and if they switch that off, you've lost everything, and that's an important thing. So AI agents are stringing together these assistants or these individual agents, and they can do rational things. They can work to a goal, for instance. So um, I think with Salesforce, you can actually start building all of this sort of. They've got an agent builder down here. I've not played with this yet, actually, because it's fairly new. It's only come out in the last, as of the time of this recording, about a month ago or something. But it's basically got, you can have flows, prompts. You can dial into Apex, which are the Salesforce functions and such, and MuleSoft APIs, which is quite interesting. Mm. Anyway, but I'm guessing, I haven't tried it, as I mentioned, but I think it's a visual builder, essentially. Okay, so there's a lot of these things around, but again, I'm always looking out for how tied into that platform are you? Can you run it on your own infrastructure and all those sorts of things? Okay, so this is obviously a big thing. There's plenty happening, and as I mentioned, there's a few things that work with AI agents really well. Obviously, you can have function calling tools, they sometimes call it, so you can call other APIs. So as part of your agent workflow, you can call into other APIs, pull data, massage that data, but make it meaningful, look at what you need to do, then pass it on to another agent that will maybe go and look at the account data from somewhere. And something I'm quite interested in working on in my day job, I work for a company called Codeless Platforms, and we've got a product called BPA Platform. um, I'm not pushing it. I'm seriously not a salesperson. But if you are interested, no, anyway. But that is all to do with automation, middleware, connecting up, ERP account systems to e-commerce, so much more. But anyway, the idea is I'm thinking, how can we use these AI agents within that? And I do think there is a way. I do think there is a way, because it's almost like the self-service portals. Um, they're still going to be around, these portals. So if you're a company and you've got B2B sort of business customers, or individual customers, you could provide a portal for people to come and check their payments, check their account, blah blah blah, and those sorts of things will be around. But you can see with these intelligent bots, i.e. AI assistant agents, where they've got the chat GPT LLM type of interface, where it's rationalizing what you're asking for, but it then can call into other systems. Now, where I'm coming from, and I'm going to try this myself just as an unofficial thing, is tying into BPA. So as part of the workflow, um, BPA can connect to a lot of ERP systems, for example, a lot of e-commerce systems, a lot of other systems very easily, REST APIs, GraphQL. And the idea is that, you can have a very intelligent customer portal slash assistant bot, but it's actually working through that. So you don't have to write a lot of code. You can connect into BPA, run sort of processes to pull data, and build the picture up to get back to your customer. So I'm looking at that as a bit of an example for sure. But as I say, there's a lot of platforms to build these AI agents. Crew AI is one that I covered in my first video, but again, it was a ramble and I didn't really show anything. And a bit like today, I'm not really showing anything in action, but I will. I've already got, like I say, a bit of a mini course on the go that's almost complete. So, that'll be something to have a look through. But AutoGen, Microsoft sort of backed this, but it is open source. And AutoGen, you can literally, the AutoGen Studio is excellent, by the way. I will show it. I did briefly show it in the last video, but I'll do a bit more of an in-depth on that, where you're building these multi-agent workflows visually. You don't have to. You can do it all by code. But the brilliant thing is that AutoGen Studio you can run locally. It's literally, you clone the repository, you've got the code, you can run it up, and it can run on your local machine, your infrastructure. You stick it in a Docker container, do whatever you like. And that's what I like about this, is that it's got a lot of backing. Like I say, Microsoft's quite, a big sort of backer of this one. So, there's a lot of good stuff with AutoGen. And I don't know, I feel personally that's my go-to. Although LangChain is another one. And this is, pretty much, I think, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, sort of like platform for building LLM apps, as they say, agents, linked workflows, all the rest of it. And they've got some really good products. LangChain is the main thing. You can pull that down, you can code against it, you can build, it gives you a framework to build these AI agents. There's LangSmith and LangGraph, which I'll go into a little bit later, but there's an amazing amount of stuff going on. And I think there's a lot of hype behind it. There's no doubt whatsoever. But I do think there's a lot of reality there as well about how you can really make these things work. Now, obviously, it's not all for business. There's people using this to, I want to book a vacation or a holiday in wherever, go and find the cheapest hotels, the best options for that, do that. So there's lots of work that people are doing. And there's some really good individuals that are building their own platforms. The only thing I'm a little bit wary of is, as much as that's great, and I do support that, what happens if it disappears? What have you got left? And something like LangChain or AutoGen, you've got it in your own code, you've got it in your own environment. So that's where I'm going to leave it, because I've just gone over 15 minutes for once. So we're almost made it. So, well, if you like this, please like and subscribe. As I say, I'll be diving deeper into these technologies, but I do think looking at a lot of these things that are happening out there, I think the proper AI assistant agent is taking those dumb bots and really making them sort of like where they've got some real utility now. So anyway, I will catch you on the next one. Take care in the meantime, and have a good week.